Hi everyone, it's Valerie at Faithful Crafter. Just want to show you a recent project I finished. It's a collage for my niece, Michelle. It represents her interest in Paris and also her faith as a sister in Christ. It's Michelle and her two daughters, and I did one of my vintage tags with French script, and we've got some French artwork in the background, and a lot of the things that interest Michelle are included on this. Anyway, I'm going to show you how I made it. Let's get started. Okay, so first I started with an 8x8 canvas piece that I got, I believe, at Michael's. Then what I did is I took the Folk Art Outdoor Metallic Pure Gold, and I took and I applied that all around the edges. And instead of doing brush marks, basically what I did was a swirl pattern, because I really wanted to get more of the the highs and lows of the gold. And I swished it all around. I did the sides and then about 1 inch in all around the perimeter of this 8x8 piece. There was no point, since I'm going to have paper covering it, there was no point in covering it all in gold. While the base is drying, I wanted to show you I used the Anna Griffin designer paper from the Hannah collection, and the piece I used is an embossed 12 by 12 sheet. It has embossed flowers on it, and it ends up coming out looking like this. What I did is I took Rub and Buff and dabbed it on my finger and then swirled it on the top of the embossed piece, just gently working it in all around on these pieces to highlight the embossed work. So it looks like a vintage piece of wallpaper. Then what I did is I tore the edges and then distressed it severely all around. And then I'm finishing it off by using the vintage photo and distressing ever so lightly around the edges. I'm just finishing that up as we were just finishing up, and that other piece is drying. Now that the mounted canvas is dry with the gold paint on it, I'm going to mount the Anna Griffin paper that's been rub and buffed in gold and distressed on the edges. I'm going to mount that with the Aleene's tacky glue, and I'm going to mount that piece and make it nice and flat. It's really important that you get plenty adhesive on here and that it gets nice and finished out to the edges. So because of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my sponge here just to make sure I get all the way out to the edges. And I use it on my canvas instead of painting it onto the paper. This way I can make sure I can go back and work it into the edges here where I really want to make sure I get that glue on there really well. Now that I've got the glue all mounted on there, I just want to make sure I get my paper right in there, get all those air pieces out. I don't want any air in there. I want it nicely mounted all the way around. There we go. So now we've got it. So it's got a nice little edge to it here. The paper rolls up just a little bit. I want it to look like the paper's coming up off the frame, so I didn't want it glued all the way out to the edge. I want it a little loose. While that dries, I'm going to start on another piece of this. I took a note card that I got from one of my shopping finds, and part of the theme of this is Paris. And these are the room colors that she has, and so I thought, oh, this would be a great piece, but I don't want to just use the card. So what I did is I went in and cut all around the piece to so it didn't look like a card necessarily. And I, trim all around the edges here. Trimmed it all out. Have this as one piece and this as a second piece, and I kept the roses. Basically what I did, and you'll see here, I trimmed it out like this, and then I trimmed out the other piece like this. And all the edges are going to be distressed and inked with Vintage Photo. For this piece I also wanted to do a vintage tag. For this I have this wonderful stamp. It's one of my favorites. It's actually from Hero Arts, and it is old French writing. It's an elegant, just swirling, beautiful French script. What I used was the Martha Stewart. It's a metallic pigment ink, and I only inked up half at a time of the block, plenty of ink, and then pressed and did half, and then did the second half for the bottom, because this will be covered up with words that to me express the person that this gift is for. And then I do the next half. And what I really like about crafting is things don't have to be perfect. If they did, we'd all be in trouble. But it doesn't have to be perfect. There's some space here, but I'm going to cover that in with paper strips. Now what I'm going to do is distress the heck out of these sides quite a bit to give it a really nice aged look. And if you don't have one of these tools, the Tim Holtz Distresser, it does a fabulous job. And go around all the edges and give that a nice rugged look. And then basically what I do is finish it off with a little of the Vintage Photo all around the edges. Rather quickly, because I know we're just trying for demonstration purposes to show you. I always like to work my corners a little bit more, give it a little rub there, come on down. My corners, nice rub of the ink, come on across, and finish out. It's really that simple. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. So anyways, that's the tag. Then what I did is I typed on my computer the words I wanted to use. Here, devoted mother, loving wife, a woman of faith, and sister in Christ. And basically what I did is cut them out, and I'll show you the finished tag. I cut them out, mounted them on the piece, and then I used my sewing machine with a brown thread and sewed them on and left the strings long. It's a different look. I wanted to do that. Here's the charm I used. It's a little cross with a rhinestone and some gold beading, and then the fibers that pick up the colors that are in the artwork. So this is the tag I'll be using on the piece. One of the items I'm going to incorporate into this piece I found at a garage sale, and it's a 12-box collection of French, they're matchsticks, and it's just a nice box with some beautiful vintage French artwork on them. So I'm going to be incorporating this small matchbox into the art piece as well. The other item that I'm going to incorporate is the M for Michelle, and that comes from the Anna Griffin Georgette collection. You've seen these in some of my other work. It's a nice about a 3-inch embossed foil alphabet letter, and it's got a little bit of a raised edge there. So that'll be centered front and center on this piece. The other items that I'm going to be including are some handmade white fabric roses. I don't know if you can see them. I finished them off on the back. And I made these. I love lots of fibers and strings, sort of a nice little shabby chic look to them. I'll be incorporating these handmade roses, fabric roses, into this piece as well. The other piece I'll be including is the actual photo of Michelle and her two girls. I cut it out, used distressing ink all around the edges, vintage photo, and we'll be including that in the artwork too. Now it's time to start putting these pieces together. First, I'm going to be gluing in the vintage tag because I know just about where I want that piece to go. I want the strings to be hanging loose, and there's glue all already on the back of the piece. It's real important. I want to make sure that these pieces here try to stay and not cover them up so much. Next, I want to try to get, I've already put glue on the back, the photo down of Michelle and her girls. Start working that in. The other piece would be the Eiffel Tower. And what's nice is I can still have time to move a lot of this around. If it's not quite where I want it, I will have a chance to move some of this around as the glue has a chance to work like that. Some of the other pieces I have, it's a clock piece. Okay, so now I've started to glue down quite a few pieces here. I've got the vintage tag in, I've got center Michelle and her two girls, the Anna Griffin foiled letter M for Michelle, a little timepiece says Paris, and then I've got the card pieces that I'm starting to glue down. Now I'm going to be adhering the matchbox piece just to give it a little bit more dimension here. And I may leave the matches in. I haven't decided yet. The other piece that I'm getting down is the second background piece of the card with the, and this is what's nice about having this glue. You can decide, you know, where you want to continue to move these or not. I don't want to cover up my vintage tag piece, and I'm trying to leave a little space so you can see this part here. Some of the other things that I'm going to be adding in are going to be these flowers that will help soften some of these edges here. I'm going to also toss a feather in just to give it a little softness back this way, just a little bit. Like that. I have a butterfly. Michelle loves butterflies, so I'm incorporating this beautiful red butterfly into the art piece. And I know this is being done quickly, but it's just to show you and give you an idea of assembling a collage piece like this. Not sure if that's where I'm going to put that as a final. More than likely. Oh! More than likely that'll be where I keep that. The last piece is this little praying angel that I have, and this little angel is going to sit right up on top here. Right up on top. There we go. I'm probably going to have to put a better adhesive up there. But this is the final collage piece. For Michelle, a woman of faith, a sister in Christ, a devoted mother, and a loving wife. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed seeing this, and we'll continue to tune in. Have a blessed day, and visit my blog at www.faithfulcrafterblogspot.com. Take care. Bye-bye.